Hello and welcome to the inCrowd podcast, a conversation with opinion leaders, visionaries, sports heroes, and other celebrities about wireless and the impact it's had in their life. I'm your host, Renee Link, and in this edition, we'll be talking to Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple and technology visionary. Please stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
The inCrowd podcast is brought to you by inCode, wireless thinking for a wireless world. inCode is a global wireless business and technology consulting firm that specializes in developing and implementing high-impact strategies and solutions that increase the profitability and performance of wireless networks. For more information on inCode, please visit us on the web at incodewireless.com.
Hello, Steve. How are you? Welcome to our inCode podcast. It's great to see you again. Happy holidays. Have you been, are you finished with your shopping yet?
Almost finished with my shopping. I've done a lot of it. I've kind of done enough to add up to 100%, but it always winds up being about 2 things for one person and none for another.
Okay, great. Steve, what I wanted to do was to talk about how wireless has impacted your life over the last probably 20 years. You've probably been a user of wireless, maybe even longer than 20 years. And I've got some questions I wanted to ask you on how, in fact, it has impacted your life. So why don't we get started? And I'll start with the first question, then we'll just go rolling right through them and see what kind of funny and interesting answers you can give us.
Sounds great.
Okay. So how many wireless devices do you have, and which is your favorite?
Oh, good Lord. I have so many Bluetooth devices, I couldn't give you a total count. I mean, I know I have at least 12, I still have at least 12 cellular phones on different phone numbers on different phones. So that's just a starter. But Bluetooth, I've got different types of headsets, and I've got the Oakley headsets, and I've got Bluetooth mice and Bluetooth keyboards, Bluetooth cars, and I use it all.
Let me ask you something about phone numbers, because I know you're really interested or into getting special phone numbers. These 12 phones that you have, are they any special phone numbers associated with? I don't want you to tell me what the numbers are, but I know you've got a philosophy about picking your numbers.
Well, they are, and it actually went back to a time when I had the first dial-a-joke ever in the Bay Area, and I had so many calls, I had to think of a way for people to dial more accurately and not get 100 wrong numbers a day for one digit off, and I came up with Get Repeating Digits. 255-6666 was my first repeating digit phone. And over the years, I tried to collect more and more digits the same. And I could always get up to 6 digits the same, like 996-9999 I had once. And that's 6 nines. But I could never get 7 digits the same in the 408 area code because the rules said that only San Francisco got the 222-333-444 prefixes. Finally, they started running out of phone numbers. We've added area codes here. We started sharing and all that. And I got a lot of good numbers. I had 221-1111, which was the shortest distance you can dial on the old rotary dial phones that was allowed by the standards of allocating phone numbers. There are no other phone numbers with 2 2s and 5 1s.
Great. Thanks for that story. That's awesome. When did you get your first cell phone, and what did you get it for?
God, I had car phones before cell phones, and then when cell phones came out, it may not have been that California was the first part of the country to be issued them. I read different dates when I look up history, and I can't really place the dates and times too well. But I got them back when Motorola had the big one that was, a little smaller than a lunchbox, but not that much smaller.
Right.
Just a big guy with a long sliding battery.
The 3-watt phone, I think it was at the time, right? It was pretty powerful.
It might have been 3 watts. I can't remember. But then shortly after that, they started coming out with a little more portable versions.
Right.
And I always stuck with the Motorola's in those days because they had the most advanced phones, the best features, the smallest size and all that.
Yeah.
And I'd always get the most advanced car kits they had as well.
That's right. And then the Motorola's used to, in those days, you would drop them and they'd still be working no problem. I mean, I remember they were very robust phones.
I can't comment about that because I really didn't drop my phone that often. And nowadays I drop my phone all the time and they survive whatever brand they are.
There you go.
They mostly survive. Not always. Not when I run over them with a Segway.
Yeah, there you go. Do your children have wireless devices?
My children have had wireless devices since about the earliest days that they could actually use them.
What amazes you most about the way that they use them?
You know what? Right away, I noticed back many years ago, they would just get into the text messaging, which I didn't get into. And then I had to even buy them some of the little Motorola talkabout devices. And we did our text messaging. And I had my own too, but I just didn't get into it the way they did. We'd be in a car and they'd be going through, 10 messages with a friend, and I wouldn't even understand why that. I mean, maybe they didn't want us to hear what they were saying.
Did you learn about text messaging from them or in other things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Learned it from them, practiced it with them. And when I finally, just in later years, would get an occasional friend that would do some text messaging,
right?
At least I knew how to do it. One of the first things I do when I get a new cell phone is go through the manual and figure out what are the ways that you insert the special characters and you shift the case and you shift the input format and all that.
You're one of those people, huh? That goes through the manual every time.
I like to learn little tidbits and little special things, A, to help me with the device, but B, to know a few things that other people don't find. Because usually when you go through the manual, you find a couple little tidbits of knowledge that people will work around, but they won't know the shortcut that was there.
Tell me a little bit about the little pillow that comes with your Razor. I've never seen anybody hook that pillow up to the Razor handset. How did you discover that?
Well, like yourself, I travel a lot, and everywhere I go, I see people with Razor phones everywhere, and I have never seen them attach the little M dongle that comes with it. They think, what a stupid little dongle. It's not even it doesn't look like a normal key dongle. It has a big Motorola M on it. Why do I want to carry their advertisement? And if you read the manual, which almost no one does, it's actually a screen cleaner. Now, it comes on this rubbery little pull-out rubber band thing that you can't put through these tiny, tiny holes. Even if you use a paper clip and pliers, it is so difficult to ever thread the thing in, so no one uses it. And I'm the only one that carries around my phones that have the dongles on because they clean the screen.
Yeah, I use my jeans to clean it, but I also agree. I didn't read the manual, so I didn't know that thing was supposed to be hooked on the side and everything else. And I imagine nobody really does either. So
yeah, and actually I knew it was to be hooked on the side and tried, and I couldn't do it. But then I thought, why would I want such a dumb thing there? It gets in the way of closing the phone. And then a friend told me, and believe it or not, this is a totally untechnical woman friend, told me that it cleans the screen. And I said, what? And once it had a purpose like that, I had to do it.
That's great. Let's switch gears a little bit. Where's the strangest place you have answered a wireless call, and what were you doing?
Oh, my gosh. I do not know. Might have been Yellowstone, where only an analog phone worked. I carried analog phones quite a long, long time. I even have one phone that is still a pure analog account, and they haven't cut me off yet.
Tell us a little bit more about analog. Why are you still sticking with analog when everybody else seems to be moving to digital? I
actually stuck with analog way up until maybe a year and a half ago when I got my Prius car. And it was one of those cars where if you get in it, it automatically makes your phone number hands-free if you have Bluetooth in your phone. My analog phones didn't have Bluetooth, so I had to finally switch to digital. And I finally switched, a couple of phones at first, then a few more, and I only have one analog left. But I stuck with it for the longest time, and it's still, when I make a call on that analog phone, it just has a higher voice quality. And one of the things I like to do is have one phone number in my life. I don't want a cell number and a home number and a work number. I want one number.
Right.
And I drove around. People would always call my one cell phone number. When I got to work, I pressed one button, and on the Motorola phone, that caused it to speed dial a phone number, which caused it to forward to the work phone. When I got home, I pressed one button, and it went beep, beep, and now I'm forwarding to my home phone. And when I get in the car, I press one button, beep, beep, and I've turned off the call forwarding, so it's coming right to my cell phone. So one number worked for about 10 years in my life, but I've really given that up now.
Do you miss analog? I mean, do you miss the sound quality and everything at this point?
Yeah, I totally miss the sound quality. There was more bandwidth allocated. Maybe it wasn't used as efficiently, but when they went to the digital phones, they just tried to be as efficient as possible and get as many calls and the bandwidth and as much money as they could. And basically, the quality went down to what we'll accept.
Right. What have you used your phone camera for? Have you ever used your camera phone to check your own appearance? Be honest.
I've never used my phone camera to take a picture of myself. It's something I wouldn't even think of doing. I don't think most people would. I do occasionally take pictures of other people, and then I make it so that their picture comes up when they phone me. But
yeah.
I'm switching phones so often. I'd like to go to new models. Switching phones so often that the latest phone I haven't necessarily got very many pictures in it. I also occasionally see something very funny, like an interesting license plate. I'll snap a picture of it, or something that applies to one of my friends, maybe a store that he's looking for, snap a picture of it, and then send it to him right from my phone.
That's cool. Let's talk a little bit about ringtones. Do you use any ringtones in your phone?
I do use ringtones. As a matter of fact, I discovered a few favorite ringtones on one phone. So I actually, I really appreciate the fact that I have a phone right now. The phone I'm using now, I can actually download MP3s into it. Mm-hmm. So I got MP3s of a ringtone that came from another brand of phone that I like a lot, and I use those, and I use some of the standard ones. I try to stick sort of with standard. And these days, I'm actually setting it so that unless I'm plugged into the wall socket at home, it's actually just vibrate only. all the time, and I have auto answer on my Bluetooth.
Okay.
So when a call comes in, I don't even have to press the button to answer. I'd like to save myself effort. That's part of what wireless is all about. As far as ringtones, I really loved some. They were Sony Ericsson, even though I'm using a Motorola phone now, and they were. One of them says, "Hello, hello, are you there?" A voice, and boy, when I was in meetings and that thing went off, everyone would say, "Who is that? What is that?" And I've got a few other ones that are just kind of funny along those lines.
That's good.
I like to use, yeah, and my girlfriend has this great ring, so I put one on that goes ring, ring, ring. It's a voice saying ring, ring, ring.
Yeah. That's cool. Which of your friends has the worst ringtone, and what is it?
Oh, I do not know about worst ringtones. That would be extremely hard to say. I hear so many of just like the stock standard ringtones, and I don't mind any of them. They've all actually improved over the old days.
Okay. Moving right along, if your cell phone could have one magic function, what would it be?
Yikes. I'd probably say quick and easy forwarding to another number. That would be the one thing that would make my one phone number life easier. Yeah, right now I have to answer on my cell phone, but when I'm home, I'd much rather answer on the more reliable, better sounding home phone.
Okay. What's the most famous person in your phone book?
Probably Steve Jobs.
That's funny.
Well, I don't even know if he's in there, actually. Let me think.
Why?
I don't hang around with CEOs and famous people. It was never part of my life. I just like to hang around with interesting, normal people and just go out and have a lot of the just normal life. What is it all about? To me, that's real. And so I probably have a few famous. If I went through my list, a few people you'd call famous in different ways, but I don't. I don't even think of them that way. Okay.
Who's in that phone book that you should really call and you haven't spoken for in ages?
Because of just where I've been in life, and I'm kind of trying to be nice to people everywhere I go, I have tons and tons of friends that I can't be day-to-day close with. And just recently started bothering me that I don't really call them very often. I wait until they email me. I'm more an email person. Once you're an email person, you don't really live on the phone as much.
Right.
And when they email me, I'll email them back. Or if they phone me, I'll talk to them then. I have a lot of old friends, and I started just recently just picking up the phone on a random day, and I'll just call a friend for no reason. It kind of surprises them because it's unusual for me to do.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
And especially during the holidays, nice thing to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Or anytime, actually.
Yeah.
So, have you ever lost your phone, and what happened?
I've lost my phone not that many times. And generally when I lose a phone, I think I've had them break more than from drops or being stepped on, something like that, more often than I've lost them. A dog chewed one once. Oh. So, yeah. And so in that case, I'll just usually run down to the store and get the exact same phone with my phone number.
Uh-huh. Was it still working after the dog chewed it, or really just mangled it up too badly?
Different times. There are different times. I ran over one with a Segway recently, and it was just too badly mangled. To trick people, we glued it back together. It was in several pieces. Glued them back together and made it pretended it was a good phone that just needed charging or something.
You're always a prankster. Yeah, that's funny. Tell us a little bit about the story that you and I were discussing earlier about doing conferencing through your Bluetooth eyeglasses and all that stuff. How did that go?
Right. I had heard about it, but had no interest in these things, Oakley sunglasses with Bluetooth. Well, I'm not a person who goes into fashion and has to have Oakley sunglasses, and I don't have any anyway, but there I was in the Singular store, and I saw them, and I liked Bluetooth, and I said, I'll try that. It was like they had different colors of these Oakley razor wires, they're called, and one of them had a very lightly tinted lens that I could even wear at night. So I bought it and tried it out, and I found out, my God, this is the best Bluetooth I've ever had. It has a little dongle that actually sticks into your ear and caps your ear kind of tightly so you can hear things in noisy environments.
Right.
And ever since the day I got it, I think I've worn it every single day, at least part of the day. I'm surprised I'm not wearing it now. Now I bought another Oakley one that looked matched more of my clothes, a black, darker one. And I loved it. I was out in New York being driven around to actually a bunch of interviews. And when I got out of the car and went up to my hotel room, I had lost the Bluetooth piece. So I went to the Oakley store in New York, which is right next to the Apple store, conveniently. They're both kind of a style thing. So I went to the Oakley store and bought another pair. Then the driver of the car the first day got a hold of me and mailed me back the first Bluetooth set. So I put one of them on the right-hand stem of my sunglasses, one of them on the left-hand stem of my sunglasses, poked them into both ears, started carrying two phones in my pocket, And I would call a friend on one of the phone numbers and tell him, hold on, I'm calling you on the other line. I'd call him from my right side phone, and I'm talking to him on the right side, and he'd conference them together, and all of a sudden there'd be all this echo from the delays because it's me to him to my left brain would be talking through his phone to my right ear, and my right brain would be talking through his phone to my left ear, and I'd sound like God, he said. So I'd love to show that trick off, and actually it's a very easy trick. You can just call one phone from another and hold them both up to your left ear and right ear, and you'll hear a real neat effect.
That's a classic story. That's awesome. Do you ever wonder how we lived our daily lives without cell phones? And have you tried to live your one day at least without cell phones?
Actually, I'm the sort of person that doesn't like interruptions in my life, and I like just a peaceful day and not a kind of real busy day with a lot of calls. And I think people sensed it. My friends sensed it over time that I'm trying to park my car. I can't talk to you now. And even though I've always had hands free, it's just difficult to get my mind thinking. If I get on a cell phone call, I'll miss exits all the time. And they got to know that I just don't like calls. So I don't really get a lot of calls.
Okay. Is your speed dial set up by importance? Like Jerry Seinfeld, I don't know if you ever saw the episode, but he said number 1 was his girlfriend, number 2. Do you have it set up like that? And who's the most important person?
Mine is set up by sort of importance. The top important one gets the 9 speed dials that are the easiest.
Right.
And I sometimes I like to put my computer friends on 2, 4, and 8 because they're binary numbers.
Uh-huh.
But I have one friend, and he's sort of my closest friend right now, living at my house even. And I have him on both 1, but if you press 1, you get the emergency number anyway, so it doesn't work. And I have him on 6, so I can always call him and I say, who is number 1? And he says, I am number 6.
That's great. Do you ever pretend static was getting bad and the call was going to drop to get you out of a particular issue or discussion with the caller?
Only as a joke.
Like your
only
wife,
as a joke.
maybe?
Times where no, never for real, never for real. Just sometimes I'll have a guy that's talking forever and ever and ever, and I keep saying, I gotta go, I gotta do this, and they won't hang up. I can't hear you. What's wrong? But I don't know if I've ever done that, but I've been at least close enough that I've half done it.
Do you remember the first time you used a cell phone and what happened?
Do not recall, although I do remember that I had gone through a few of the branches of Motorola phones by the earthquake in 1989. And right after the earthquake, you're stunned for about a half a minute, run over to try to make a phone call, and you get just beep, beep, beep. All the lines are in use.
Right.
I picked up my cell phone. Not very many people had cell phones back then. I called a friend who had a cell phone down here in San Jose I was up in Walnut Creek, and I got through to him, and we were talking. And I hung that call up, and you know what? By 15 minutes later, for the next 2 weeks, I could not get a cell phone call through or a regular phone call.
Wow. If you were ever to die and come back as a wireless device, which one would it be? And who would you like your owner to be?
Oh, man. Thinking wireless device means cell phone, I would probably say either the Nokia 8890 phone, which I loved so much, and everyone who ever had one did, or my Motorola Razr phone.
Okay.
Just the nice way it fits in the hand and uses. That's all.
And
That's all it takes.
Who would you like your owner to be if you came back?
Who would I like my owner to be?
I mean, you'd be cuddled next to their ear and their face all the time.
I really don't. I don't have any feeling at all about that. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. What's your most treasured wireless possession?
Most treasured wireless possession.
Is it one of those analog handsets that you have? Maybe you still have one. You carry one of the StarTags, or
I still have a StarTag. I have the V series.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have the V series, and it's in my Hummer, and it still works. And it's even on a hands-free system. But that's not my most. I'd say the most valuable is just my phone that I carry with me, and it changes brands throughout time. I've tried a couple of smartphones, and I don't like smartphones.
Okay.
And
what don't you like about them?
Well,
complicated.
I only get into using the smartphone as a phone, really. And that's really the main purpose to me. I don't really live by a PDA. So PDA is secondary to me, and I really just want a small phone that fits in my hand and works well.
Right. So primarily for voice calls, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've also been through Bluetooth has bothered me because I've been through so many phones where the Bluetooth, certain parts of the Bluetooth wouldn't work on my Macintosh, or they wouldn't work in cars, or they wouldn't work correctly in my Prius. They would only work halfway. Like I could talk through the hands-free but couldn't receive it. So, boy, I have a lot of trouble always checking out to make sure I get a complete Bluetooth and one that can let my computer get on the internet easy.
Okay.
That's extremely important in my life.
Now, let's switch gears a little bit into looking into the future a little bit. How long do you think before we're all watching TV on cell phones? Do you think it's going to happen?
Of course not. Holding a cell phone for a whole TV show is very hard and tedious, and you'll try it. Remember, we used to be able to, let me think. No, I'm going back at least 20 years ago. I had a little tiny TV set that I carried in my hand and could watch TV shows on.
Right, I remember those. Yeah.
And you could plug in an earphone and actually hear them, and they were just sort of worthless. My eyes now are to the point that a little tiny screen wouldn't work for me, so I'm not the best judge of this. But you know what? You show it off for a while, and you just stop using it. It's not the way that you as a human want to watch TV when you have large screens all around you. As a matter of fact, if you have a little cell phone and you're traveling, you also probably have your laptop, and there's a bigger screen anyway.
Right, so if we were able to project onto that laptop or a bigger screen, then maybe you would use the device just as a storing device or being able to stream through that device onto a bigger screen. But your issue is really the screen size.
Yeah, and actually television shows that are really broadcast, whether they're movies or TV shows, we really like using our TiVos now to have a little storage that we can access easily. And bringing all that into cell phones is difficult. Also, any of the things that we do with video, especially any storage, you're talking memory. And cell phones are just all designed to be the absolute lowest price, or they can't sell it, if it goes way up.
Yeah, that's right. What device that you use do you wish was wireless but isn't today? Is there one?
That is not wireless that I wish were?
Yeah.
Almost none. I am wireless everywhere I can be. I do wish that my camera had a wireless connection to my computer to dump photos in.
That would be pretty cool, right? Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I don't even like to hook up a cable that's connected to a dock to get my camera photos in. I'd rather just pull the card out of the camera, slide it into an adapter in my computer. That's one step easier, but boy, Bluetooth would be a lot nicer. Or something fast.
Right.
Yeah, Wi-Fi maybe.
Yep, that's true. Do you talk on your cell phone in the car? And do other people who do annoy you?
I talk on the cell phone in the car. Hands-free in a car is very, very important to me. I take calls hands-free, so everyone in the car hears the call generally.
Right.
Once in a while, I'll be wearing my Bluetooth headset, and I'll just have a call, and they can't hear what it is. But I don't get very many calls, so it doesn't bother them. I don't talk business and the sort of things. Almost anything I talk, the person in the car knows who I'm talking to and why, and I'm always a little bit joking, a little entertaining, a little bit deceptive, or giving weird little answers that aren't quite true or misleading, and they enjoy the humor of the call as much as the person on the call.
Does it annoy you when others are using it outside and they're driving?
It annoys me not so much when they're driving, but just in public places, whether it's on the street, on a sidewalk, and I have to listen to somebody talking to either even his wife or usually it's
berating
business,
his wife,
or they're making business calls next to me on the airplane, and I really shouldn't even be hearing this stuff, and really don't want to, and it bothers me hugely. Be sitting in an airplane gate awaiting something, or in a shopping mall.
Do you ever say something? No,
I never say anything.
Okay. Good. Has having a cell phone ever saved your life, or has it saved somebody else's life?
Wow. Not that I can really know.
Did you ever dial 911 off the road? And
I have dialed 911. Remember, I had cell phones before anyone had cell phones.
Right.
And back in those days, whenever I saw an accident, I was the first one to report it. And to this day, as soon as I see an accident, I saw one yesterday. And a car, or it was yesterday or the day before, and the car was in the slow lane, number 4 lane, stalling in that lane in the heavy rain. I called 911. I was the first call in, and I pointed out, I called 911. I'm the first one to report an accident very often. And sometimes nowadays, everyone has cell phones.
Right.
So sometimes nowadays, they'll tell me, yes, we're onto that. Somebody reported it. So I'm like maybe the second or third.
Right.
But I'm calling them in all the time before the police are there.
So it seems to me that wireless has changed your life quite a bit.
Speaking of 911, though, I have an answering problem.
What's that?
I'll be put on voicemail and music, and
when you dial 911,
by the time I get through, I'm not even on the freeway where I'm reporting a car stalled. And also, one time I saw a car spin out in front of me in the rain in Los Angeles. I think it was 5 merging on 170 or something, spinning out. And I was, thank God, safely enough behind, 2 cars behind. I was able to stop in time, and then I said, I got to get to the side of the road and call this in. The side of the road was I had to take another freeway off. I went off to the right side, and there was a lane clear, and traffic let me. I spent 20 minutes dialing 911, waiting for someone to answer. Nobody answered.
Wow.
After 20 minutes, I looked around, and the guy had, I guess his car hadn't been disabled, so he had straightened it out and driven off on his freeway, and I didn't even know it.
That's amazing. So it seems to me that it has changed your life quite a bit, and it's helped your life over these many years. So in one word, what does wireless technology mean to you?
It means freedom. I think most people would say convenience, but it's a type of freedom. I don't have to go by plugging a wire in here and a wire in there, and where I position stuff in a room or in my environment isn't dependent upon the wires. It's really, every piece is free and on its own.
That's great.
Don't ask me why, but I'm one of those people that just loves that, and I have all my life. And it's strange because I was a computer engineer and never really a wireless engineer.
Right.
But I always figured that engineers were wireless people, and I just didn't quite wind up one.
That's great. What do you say as a sign-off when saying goodbye to someone on your cell phone?
I'm real turt with people. It's just one of the ways I am. I just usually go, bye. Okay, bye.
That's it.
See, yeah, sometimes I'll shut up before this. If they're one of the real long, lengthy, polite people, you have to both get to where your goodbyes are in sync, and you're, okay, and this and that, and then maybe we'll do this, and yeah, okay, I'll see you. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. You know, some people like that big, long sequence, and sometimes I'll just... I can't put up. Gotta go now.
All right, Steve. That about wraps up this edition of the inCrowd. We've been talking with Steve Wozniak. Steve, thank you for joining us, and have a happy holiday.
Well, thanks, Renee. I actually hope to listen to some of these and hear how it impacts other people's lives.
You will, absolutely.
Great.
Thank you. I'm Renee Link, and from all of us at inCode, thank you for listening. Please keep tuning in. I have a very exciting list of guests for future editions of the inCrowd podcasts.
For more information on the inCrowd, be sure to visit us at incodewireless.com. inCode, wireless thinking for a wireless world.